Hey students, and welcome to today's live YouTube session on competitive coding training for TCS Digital and Infosys provided by Quant Masters. So we're going to be having this live session on 20th of July at 9:30 p.m. where we're going to be continuing from where we left off. So welcome to all the students who are joining in, and we're going to go through a lot of concepts which are pretty much new, which are pretty much different from what we have gone through, to look at and to ensure that we are able to solve a lot of different kind of interview questions. Now, before we begin, as always, I just want to ask all the students if you're all able to hear me and see the screen very clearly. You guys can just put in one message in live chat saying yes, AV, or anything, so that we can go ahead and begin right away. So it's perfect. People can hear and see the screen. That's perfect. Glad to hear such quick responses today. Very glad to hear that. So let's go ahead and continue over here. If you guys remember, we had this particular problem called add string, which we have already completed in C++ and Java. A few of you guys have asked me to do the same in Python. We're going to quickly do this within 5 minutes or 10 minutes as much as possible, and we're going to go through a very important question, where you need to reverse an integer under certain constraints. Most of us, the moment we see the constraints, we become very afraid of them, but they all have very simple solutions. We're going to look at that and we're going to solve that. But before we solve such a complicated problem, that is number reversal, let's go ahead and try to work on this. So we're going to take, remember, we are just taking two strings, adding them as binary numbers and printing the result. That's it. So let's take two strings. We'll take string 1 equals input, and we'll take string 2 equals again input. We're getting two strings as input right away, right here. And once we get them as input, all we need to do is pretty simple: call add binary function with string 1 and string 2. Now, in add binary function, we just need to perform the addition of them. So I'm going to take whatever is add binary function over here, we're going to copy it, we're going to paste it, and we're going to quickly replace it. Now, in our add binary function, we're receiving two strings, that is str1 and str2. Now, we don't need to specify any data type, we'll just receive it as str1 comma str2. You don't even have to receive because they're global variables by default. Now, once this is done, we need to find length of it and subtract it by 1. Now, in Python, we don't use length function, we rather use len as a wrapper function. We wrap it around our string. So this is what we're going to use for finding the last index or last indices over here. And we need to also have another variable c, which is 0, no need to specify it as this. And we have result as a string, no need to specify any of the other details. So same thing. And the only change here is we can't use or as it is, we need to use or as or, because there's this little change that we need to do in Python. Once this is done, again, we need to replace this with colon, no need of brackets. We're just going to replace it with colon. Again, no need of brackets. We're again going to replace this with colon, no need of brackets. Done. So all these things are done. Now, here's what we need to do. Hold on, guys. Done. I think this is good enough. So the first thing we need to do here is, again, we need to get whatever is index I. Now in Python, can I directly use str of I? Can we directly use str of I as index? What do you guys think? Can I perform this? Like str of I minus 48 or str1 of I or str of 2 of j minus 48. Okay, a lot of you are saying yes. Let's take a look at this. Now, remember, if we do this, what are we doing at the end? We have c mod 2 plus 48 plus result. This is what we have. Now, let's try running this. I'll show you what exactly will happen when we do this. Now, there are a couple of problems here. That is, we don't have increment or decrement operators in Python. So we need to do I minus equals 1 instead. Similarly, we need to do j minus equals 1 instead. Now, as Swami has rightly pointed out, this will not work because we need a couple of special characters. We need a couple of special characters. I'll explain that, special functions rather. So let's try compiling or interpreting this. Now, if we run this, if I give 1010 and if I give 1011, it first gives me a little error. Oh, sorry guys, I've forgotten to define the function. Let's try this. Now I'll give 1010. I've given 10101. Let's give the same thing. Now it gives an error here because it says we cannot use minus for a character and a number. Since we cannot use minus for a character and a number, whatever this character is, I need to convert to its ASCII number. To convert to its ASCII number, we use a function called ORD. Please remember, in Python we have these couple of special functions which I'll just show you for your reference. We have one function called ORD. I'll just show you here. So they've written this in alphabetical order. I just want to go for ORD, which is supposed to be here. Perfect. So ORD, as you can see, it says given a string representation of a character, it returns integer representing the Unicode point of that character. That means ORD of lowercase a returns integer 7. ORD of something else returns its Unicode value. So ORD gives us the Unicode value. On the other hand, what do I do to get the character? To get the character, we have another specific function here called CHR, where CHR, once you give CHR of a number, ASCII number in our case, but here they use Unicode, but don't worry about Unicode. The only difference between ASCII and Unicode is ASCII was created for C language, where we only use minus 128 to 127. We use a small range. But when new languages came up, like Python and Java, they had to create Unicode character instead of ASCII, because ASCII was not enough. Imagine storing Greek characters, Roman alphabets, Roman characters, or something like, let's say, French characters and everything like that, or Russian characters and everything. So you needed more character base, more character storage options. So from ASCII we moved on to Unicode, but whatever is the ASCII values, they remain the same for characters in English, even in Unicode. They don't change. So I just need to take, in order to get number, I just need to use ORD. Similarly, in order to convert it to character, I just need to use CHR. That's it. This is our simple function. So sounds like simple, sounds simple, but we don't know whether it works. Let's try 1010 and 1011. Our output, we are not printing anything. We're supposed to print the output, right? So let's go ahead here and print the output. Now this is it. This should work. As one of you saw me pointed out, ORD is for ASCII character, for CHR is for character. Yeah, basically yes. ORD will take input as character, gives you the ASCII value as output. CHR will take the ASCII value and give you the character as output. So let's take this two inputs. I'm getting 10101. So our program works perfect. This is your Python program to solve the same. Simple and easy, really not difficult. A very simple and easy program. That's it. Now with this, let's move ahead for our next question very quickly. So we were able to solve it in just a few minutes. We didn't have to take a lot of time. Now, my question is, reverse a number. Sounds simple, right? Sounds pretty simple. Reverse a number shouldn't be difficult. But I'm yet to give my conditions. I'm yet to give my special conditions when it comes down to reversing a number. Here's the conditions. According to the program, you can only store, according to the program, there's a 32-bit system. Alright, there's a 32-bit system, or instead of 32-bit system, let me just say it in this way. There's an architecture which can store integers from minus 2 to the power of 31 to 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. This is what an architecture can store. An architecture can store values up to this. Now, what you need to do is reverse a given number, which, I'll repeat, reverse a given number, which should return the reversed number if it does not overflow. If at any point of time the number overflows during reversal, return 0. This is what they're saying. Now let's take a look at this. Let's try to figure out how we're going to do this. Now let me explain this with an example. Initially it may seem a little confusing. Please don't worry. I'll explain this so that you guys can understand this very, very well. I'll take a screenshot of this exact page so we can get to know this better. So hold on, guys. Now, if you guys observe here, what does it state? It says that you need to reverse, sorry guys, you need to reverse a number. Let's take one simple scenario. They also say that there's an architecture which can store between this range. During reversal, when you try to reverse, it can go out of this range also, right? Whenever it goes out of this range, we should give 0 as the result. Now, if you look at this, it becomes slightly difficult. I have one question. Convert number into Python and reverse it, and then converting back to integer, check for condition accordingly. That's a good logic, but unfortunately that logic will lose a lot of test cases in our scenario. That's a good logic. I don't deny that. But I'll explain this scenario and you'll get to understand why it doesn't work in a lot of test cases, particularly in our scenario. So take this for instance. Let's take this particular example for instance. Kindly hold on for just a minute, guys. Please hold on. All right. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this in this form. Take this scenario. Let's say, now let's forget about this big range because it is too difficult for us to calculate, imagine and run. So for our understanding, we'll take a smaller number. We'll take a much smaller number. Now take this scenario. I'll take minus 3000 and 3000 as my range. Right. Let's say this is our range. Now, when this is our range, at Swami's question, I'll explain exactly why that doesn't work. Now, here, what's happening here is, according to our system, I think I didn't add one more condition. The other condition here is, there is no way that the system, can store a value greater than minus 2 power 31 or 2 power 31 minus 1. There is no way that your system can store a value outside of this range. It says that you cannot store a value outside of this range. So according to your question, if this is the range in which we can store a value, if I have a number like 1, 2, 2, 3 and I reverse it, which becomes greater than 3000, there is no way I can store a value greater than 3000 because this is the logic. Now, don't think that in our system or in our computer we cannot do that. We may be able to do that in our computer, but according to this logic, we shouldn't be able to do this. So they may have tweaked the compiler, they may have done something. We never know. So we can't risk by creating such a value and comparing. It may lose our test cases. So they say that we cannot store any value greater than this range. Since we cannot store any value greater than this range, if I reverse it 3221, it will go all the way back and become something like 2779 or something like that, minus 2779 or something like that. It will become because if you overflow from positive, it becomes negative. If you overflow from negative, it becomes positive. That's the whole idea. This is exactly what happens. So let's take a look at this scenario. Let's take a look at this. Now, when I reverse it, first I'll get 3, then I'll get 32, then I'll get 322, then I'll get, this is still less than this range. then I'll get 3221. The moment I get 3221, since I cannot store anything greater than this range, 3221 will not be stored as 3221, it will be stored as something else. To understand it even easier, take this scenario. Let's say I have 1003. I'll get 3, I'll get 0, I'll get 0, I'll get 1. The moment I make it 3001 as the integer, it will overflow from 3000, become minus 3000, and it will give the result as minus 3000. It has overflowed. We won't be able to know that. We will not be able to get to know if it is overflowed or not, because when overflowed, it becomes another number. We won't be able to figure that out. This is the entire question. This is the entire problem that has been asked. So we need to figure out how we can solve this. So I'll just repeat this. I'll just point this out very, very quickly. So please note this, guys. We have to reverse the integer, but we cannot store any value greater than this range. We can only store within this range, not outside this range whatsoever. That's all that we can store with. That's the maximum value. So in that, there's some integer maximum value, right? If our value goes more than integer maximum value, it won't work. If our value goes lesser than integer minimum value also, it will overflow, so it won't work. So that's the whole scenario. That's the whole idea in which we need to solve this problem. It just says that you cannot store any value outside of this range. So I hope the question is clear for everyone. If it is clear, let me know, guys. We'll go ahead and try solving it. I hope it is very clear. If to anyone, if the question is confusing, you can ask like whatever you may have in your mind. If it is clear, please just put in one text stating that it is clear. We can understand. If it is confusing, you guys can just put a text like which part is confusing. So I will definitely go to that particular part of the question and answer. I have one of you asking me to take another example. Okay, take this scenario. I'll give you a very simple example. Very, very simple example. Let's take this scenario. Okay, let's say our range, instead of minus 2 power 31 to plus 2 power 31 minus 1, let's say our range is minus 2 power 6 to 2 power 6 minus 1. Now, what's the value of 2 power 6? Simple question. You've got 64. Is that right? Right? Alright. So let's take this scenario. Let's say this is our range. Minus 64 to 63. Let's assume this is our range. Now, if this is our range, I'm taking a smaller scenario so that we can understand this initially better. So let's say this is our range. If this is what is our range, what we need to do is, if we have a number like 35, and if I reverse it, it becomes 53. 53 is a part of this range. Nothing will happen. If I take a number, let's say 37, when I try to reverse it, first I'll take the last digit, then I'll add 3, multiply it by 10 and add 3 to it. I'll get 73. Now, what will 73 become? Since it is greater than 63, it will go all the way to negative, start going 10 values here. It will become something like minus 54 or something, minus 54, minus 55, minus 55 is what it will basically become. So in that case, since 73 has become, you're adding 10 here. We know it will go overflow and it will go on the other side, right? It will continue from here. It becomes minus 55. Now, since it becomes minus 55, can I get to know that it has overflowed? No. How will I not be able to know? Because my value is still within this range. It's still within this range. So I won't get to know. If you think of a question like, you know what, since it is 73, after reversal, it's becoming a negative number. Initially, it's a positive. After that, it will become negative number. In that case, what if I take 130? Or let's say, what if I take 150? When I reverse it, it will still become the same, or sorry, not 150. Let's say some number which becomes something like this. So I have one question. How about unsigned int? No. The other condition in this question is you cannot use any unsigned int. This is the only range. You can't use unsigned to store only the positive. None of them you can use. This is the condition that the question has limited you with. Alright, the question they have limited you with all these conditions. So there is no way to do this, and there is no way to store unsigned values separately. So glad that one of you thought about this, but that's also a condition. All right. So I hope at Sakshi's question, I hope it is very clear now with the other example. If it is clear, you can just let me know with one message. I hope to everyone this logic so far is very, very clear. Now, I'll give you guys the solution for this. Now think of this. If I'll take 73, glad that it's clear. If I'll take not 73, let's say 37. Now what's the first scenario? I'll take 3 and then I will, I'll take 7 first and I'll write it here. Then after that, I'll take 3 here and I'll multiply 7 with 10, I'll get 70. After I get 70, I'll be adding 3. So that will give me 73. Now here's the big problem. When I get 73, it is already greater than 63. 73 is greater than int max value here. Whatever is int max value, 73 is greater than this. Since 73 is greater than int max, here's what I'm going to do. Think of this, guys. When I take 7 into 10, this element can be greater than int max, right? Because when I take only 7, the last value, if I multiply it by 10, whatever result may come up, that may be greater than int max. So can I do in another way by saying divide both values by 10? I can say 7 is greater than int max by 10. Can I figure out in this way? What do you think? Can I try to figure out if 7 is greater than int max by 10, then it crosses the limit? Because 7 into 10 is 70. 70 is greater than maximum value 63. Similarly, on this other hand, 7 is greater than int max by 10. What is int max by 10? 63 by 10 is 60. Is 7 greater than 6? 63 by 10 is 6. Is 7 greater than 6? Yes. Since 7 is greater than 6, you can say when I'm multiplying it, it will cross the limit. Does this make sense, guys? Instead of multiplying this and comparing with integer max, we're going to divide integer max and compare with the value. The same equation, we're just dividing both places by 10. That's it. So all I need to do is do this comparison first. What if 7 is greater than int max? Now, on the other hand, this is one scenario. This is one example. I can take this scenario. Now, there is still one more scenario. What if this happens? Think about this. If I have, let's say, input as, let's say, for example, I'll take 56. 56 is a valid input. Now, when I take 56, think about this. First, I'll take 6. Is 6 greater than int max by 10? It's not. It is equal to. Since it is equal to, it continues, but when you reverse it, it will still like cross, it will still overflow. I cannot give this condition always to be true. One case it is true, but what if the number comes up like this? Then our program fails. We fail the test cases completely here. So it won't work properly. So we need to find out a different scenario. We need to find out a different logic here. Now, the different logic we're going to do here is this simple idea. Now, when I have 56, when I add 60 plus 5, it will be greater than int max, right? 60 alone is not going to be greater than int max. But when I add 5, it will be greater than int max. So can I take this 5 all the way over here and be like 60 greater than int max minus 5? Can we do this? Simple math logic. Simple math logic is all you need to solve this problem. It sounds so complicated, but you just need this simple mathematical logic. That's it. If you do this, your entire program will be solved. Can I do this instead? 60 plus 5, if I add it, it will be greater than it. So I cannot compare because it will overflow. When it will overflow, it will be lesser than it. On the other hand, can I do, instead of 60 plus 5 greater than int max, I'll take 60 greater than int max minus 5. So int max minus 5 is, int max is 63. 63 minus 5 is 58. So 58, is 60 greater than 58? Yes. So that means we are overflowing. That is how we get it. Does this now make sense? I hope it makes sense. Simple logic. So this is the exact scenario which we will implement even for this case. That's all. That's all. Now, let me take one case, one final case. What if I reverse minus 64? What if I reverse the last value? Minus 64. Let's try reversing it. What if I reverse the last value? I'm taking 4. 4 will become 4 into 10. I'll get 40. 40 and then I'm adding 6. So I'll get 46. I'll get that value as 46. That is, when I reverse it, is it 46 or is it minus 46? What do you guys think? What should it be? It should be minus 46. Is this correct? What do you guys think? Is this logic so far correct? Yes. Sounds simple. So we can do this. So all we need to do is, if we have a negative number, we will call the same function again. We will recursively call the same function. And when we recursively call the same function, we will send only the positive value in the function. We will ask the function to do the reversal. Then we will add negative sign at the end of it. Because when you perform negative number reversal, you need to deal with negative numbers. You need to change the code. You need to change the logic, everything. We don't want to do all of that. We are lazy programmers. We really don't want to do so much extra work. So we're going to do it like this. So let's start with this. Let's see how exactly we will solve this. Now, let's take this scenario. Now, they will give the numbers in a function generally. So I'll already take these numbers as input and I'll take it in a function. So I'll take this scenario as, let's say, int a comma b. Now, all that I'm going to do here is a is equal to, let's say, c in a and then c in b. I have one of you asking me to explain this one. See, just in simple logic, at Sagar's question, observe, when you reverse a number, there's a chance that some process will go outside the loop. When it goes outside the loop, you need to get to know it. How will you get to know if it's outside the range of your integers? You can't, because when you go outside the range, it will go back inside using the negative number, right? So it will loop back. To avoid that, to get to know, see, if I have 37, what is the reversal of it? 73, right? 73 is greater than 63. Can I get to know if 73 is greater than 63? No, because this is the maximum value I can have in my computer. This is the minimum value I can have in my computer. If I have 73, 73 becomes all the way to negative and goes back to something as minus 55 when it loops. Now, to avoid that, what we're going to do here is, once I get last digit 7, if I take 70, 70 is already greater than my maximum value. So I cannot compare, because when 70 is there, I can't have 70 in my system, right? It becomes minus 55. Is it greater than 63? No, the answer will become false. So to get to know 70 is greater than 63, I cannot do this. So instead of 70 greater than 63, I will make it as 7 greater than 63 by 10. Instead of 7 into 10 greater than 63, I'll make 7 greater than 63 by 10. 63 by 10 is a valid value within this. So I can get it as 7 greater than 6. 7 greater than 6 is true. So that means it is overflowing. That is one question, one scenario. Another scenario is, let's say I have 56. Now, initially if I take this number 6 greater than int max by 10, is 6 greater than 6? Is 6 greater than 63 by 10? Is 6 greater than 6? No. Since it is not greater than 6, all that we are doing here is making sure that it runs. But there's one problem. When you add 60 to 5, that 65 will become greater. So to avoid that, I need to check that 6, in this case, 60 plus this 5 will be greater than int max. But whatever is greater, I can't compare. So I have to take this plus 5 on the opposite side as minus 5 and compare. These are the two conditions I need to do. That's it. I hope it's very, very clear. Now let's take a look at this. We are reading two integers, and after reading two integers, we are performing reverse of a comma b. Now there are test cases already for which input output should be 0, for which input output should not be 0, and everything. So we're gonna call our function and we're gonna print the result whatever it gives. I'll just use end else so that we can see the output in a separate line clearly. In interview, you don't have to use end L compulsorily if you're supposed to print, or if you're supposed to return, you just have to return. So let's do this. Int reverse of int a comma int b. Sorry, not a and b. Very sorry, guys. I'm just supposed to reverse one number. Very, very sorry. We're just supposed to reverse one number. We'll just take something like num. We're gonna take this number. We're gonna try to reverse it. That's it. Now, first thing, if number is less than 0, I need to reverse negative value of number and then take its negative and then return it. Now this may initially seem confusing. Don't worry, I'll explain. If the number is less than 0, that means it is negative. If it is negative, it can be something like, so let me leave it as it is. It can be something like minus 5, minus 15 or anything. Reversal of minus 15 should be minus 51, right? Minus should be there separately, but I will take only this number. How will I get only the number? I am using one more minus. When I use minus of minus 15, I'll get plus 15. So I will reverse plus 15, which will give me 51. I should add minus to it and return. That's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm sending minus now, which means positive number will be sent back to reverse function. And it will calculate the reverse of it. Whatever is the reverse of it, we are adding negative sign to it and returning. This will give us the right value. Now, let's take the next scenario. Let's take the next example. The next example is, if it is a positive value, we need to reverse. If you guys remember, I hope everybody remembers the logic on how to reverse a number. We take that number, let's say if we have something 1023, we'll take the last digit and place it here. How will we take the last digit separately? We need to perform mod 10. When you perform mod 10, you'll get the last digit. Then if you want to get the last second digit, you need to take the number and divide by 10. So your next number is only 102, where you can perform mod 10 again to get 2. Then again, if you want to get the next last digit, you need to take again divided by 10 to get its first two values except the last value, that comes up to be 10, and then again you perform mod 10 here to get the last digit. This is how we get it. I hope this logic everybody knows and remembers. If any of you are very confused with this logic, if any of you find this too difficult, please let me know. I hope everybody is familiar with this. If you guys find it a bit difficult, please just put in a message in chat, because I am hoping and assuming everybody has learned this a lot. Everybody has learned this well. So yeah, the reverse loop, exactly. The loop by which you reverse the number. The same logic. We have learned this so many times till now. I hope this is very, very easy and clear. I have one of you stating size minus 1. You don't need to do size minus 1. Since it's an integer, you will stop when it becomes 0. I'll show this example once. Since a couple of you may be slightly confused, I'll take this. Take this example. I need to reverse 1, 2, 3. To reverse 1, 2, 3, I'll divide 1, 2, 3 by 10. When I divide it by 10, 10 times 12, I'll get 120, and remainder is 3. When remainder is less than 10, we stop. Now what is it? I got a last value 3. I'll take this 3 and store it in reverse. After that, my next number is 12. Whatever is the quotient, that is my next part of the number. Last digit is gone. Now 12, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll divide it by 10. 10 times 1 is 10. I'll get remainder as 2. This 2 I have to add to 3 as the next digit. To add to 3 as the next digit, I need to take 3 multiplied by 10, which gives me 30. And then I will add this digit. That will give me 32 as the reverse value. And what is remaining here? Only 1. So we'll take 1 as our next number. Now let's try to divide 1 by 10. So 10 times 0 is 0, because you can't divide a value lesser than 10 by 10. So you get the remainder as it is. The remainder is now 1. So we're going to multiply this 32 by 10 to get us 320. We're going to add 1 to get 321. That's it. Once it is done, our entire logic is done. We only have 0 at the end. When you have 0 at the end, that's where you stop. This is the logic. Right? This is exactly what we need to do. So let's do this. I hope the logic is very clear. So till when we need to do? As long as n is not equal to 0. Until it is not equal to 0, we need to keep repeating. Now, before we do any step, before we perform any operation here, what's the first thing I need to check? Before we perform any operation whatsoever, the first thing we need to check is a very, very simple value, is a very, very simple logic. That is to check if, sorry guys, I haven't stored any reverse number yet. I need to store one more number called int reverse number or reverse num, which is initially 0. I have one question. Oh, sorry guys, it's not n, it's num. It's just a basic habit. It's just habit that we either use num or n. It's while num not equal to 0. Absolutely right. So here, as long as our number is not equal to 0, we're going to repeat the following step. What are we going to do first? We're going to need to check if overflow is happening or not. How will I get to know if overflow is happening or not? Think of this. If my number is 70, let's take the first example. If my number is 70, if my number is, let's say, 37, I need to take the last digit. Last digit is n mod 10. Whatever is n mod 10, the 70 multiplied by 10. Whatever is last value, n mod 10, 7 multiplied by 10, I get a 70. It should not be greater than int minimum. But in our scenario, if it is greater, I cannot compare. So I'm going to take this divided by 10 and be like n mod 10 greater than int min by 10. This is my first scenario. Now you may be wondering, why am I using int min? The question is in such a way that we can use int min in this scenario, because the minimum value we can store is that, maximum value we can store is this. So let's take this simple example. I'll take this as while num mod 10 greater than int minimum, and we'll use something like by 10. This is the first scenario. Or the second scenario, what if it is, as we learned in the another example, something like 56. If it is 56, then 6 is greater than int min by 10, or 6 is greater than 63 by 10. That's not true. It's not going to be true. So I need to take if 60 is greater than the maximum value minus our next value. That is what we need to do. So if whatever reverse number we have, this is not num mod 10, this is reverse is greater than, because remember, each time we'll take it as reverse. Each time we'll take it, let's say, reverse. Alright. So each time we'll take it reverse. Initially reverse will be 0, is because this is like the whole way we need to perform the calculation, right? Because if reverse is greater than int max by 10, we're not supposed to perform any further operation, because we cannot get to figure out when, I'll just point out, we cannot get to figure out, let's say if reverse is 6, we cannot get to figure out if reverse times 10 greater than that. So I need to take this reverse number. So again, this is our reverse num, not reverse, absolutely right. So either this or the second condition, if reverse number times 10 greater than int min minus n mod 10. Now what am I doing here? In the other hand, let's say our number is 56. If our number is 56, current, let's say, reverse value is 6. So if reverse value is 6, I'll multiply it by 10 and I'll check if it is greater than max value minus whatever is left. What is left is only 5 now, because 6 we have already taken away. N will only be 5. 63 minus 5. 63 minus 5. This is what we need to do. 5 will be last digit of our number, which is again not n, num. So this is exactly what we're doing. This is your simple and easy logic, really not difficult. This is our simple and easy logic to figure out. Not while, again, if we're not going to keep repeating that. So if this is the scenario, we're going to return 0. That means we are not, it is overflowing. If it is not overflowing, then I can do the rest of the operation. That is, I need to add something to the result. What do I add something to the result? First, I'll take reverse num is equal to reverse num multiplied by 10 plus n mod 10. We have added it. After adding it, we just need to divide n by 10. That's it. Once this is done, our entire logic is done. At the end, we just need to return reverse number. That's it. Now let's take a look at this. I'll compile this. Let's give this a check. Okay, sorry guys. Int min was not declared because we need to use hash include C limit. Limits.h is a part of C language, so I need to again I'm using n everywhere, unfortunately. So very sorry for that. Yeah, we need to use limit.h, but since we are using C++, rightly as Sharon pointed out, I needed to change that variable name, and it wasn't pointed out we need to use limit header file. But remember, we are working in C++, and limits is a part of C language. Since limits is a part of C language, I need to use C limits. So let's try it now. Let's compile this and let's run this. I have one question: what means int minimum? So what happens here is your limits file will figure out in your architecture which is the minimum most integer value that can be stored. Similarly, your limits header file has a variable which will find out which is the maximum most value that can be stored in your as an integer in your system. It will calculate that. That is exactly what we are keeping here. It's an inbuilt value we can use. So if we run this, if I take something like 5000, it gives me 0. Is that our reverse number? Let's take one more thing, 5223 or 5223. Is that our reverse number? No. So what exactly happened here? If that is not our reverse number, where did we go wrong here? Can you guys think? Can you guys think through? Okay, num divided by equals 10, right? We are performing num equals num by 10. We have it here. Same thing, right? Num divided by 10 is same as num equals num by 10. It's the same thing. Initially, yes, finally one of you got it right. It is int max, right? Am I supposed to compare with the negative value or the highest value? Highest value, right? Not the lowest value. When I compare with the lowest value, it's always going to be true. It's always going to be true condition. It's supposed to be int max, not int min. Absolutely right, as one of you pointed it out. So at present, I think we'll confirm. We're waiting for some updates. We'll let you know. Not to worry. All right. So in that case, all we need to do is change it to int max. Let's give this a try. Let's see how it works now. If I give 5000, I should get 5. If I give 5332, I should get 2335. Now, I can't take such a large value to work through. So what I will do here is, for our understanding, I will take int max equals 5000. This is what I will take. Let's see if it works now. Or I'll just write. Okay, since it's not a macro, I'll just need to define it. Let's do this. Let's see now. Now, in this case, 3553, it does get reversed. Let's try 4009. It says 0 because 9004, when you try to reverse, it's outside of the logic, outside of the loop. If I write 2005, that's also 0. 5002 is also greater than that. If I write 1005, that's also greater. So 5001 is also greater than int max. So we are able to get this program logic perfectly. So this is our entire program when they say that you cannot store a value greater than int max because it will overflow. This is our scenario. When our value goes overflow, we can do it like this. Simple logic. This is our entire program, guys. So I hope the logic is simple and easy enough. This is how we can do this reverse number program. So I have one of you asking test case for negative number. Let's give this a try. So guys, we haven't done that. So we'll take the same here. Now I'll take, let's say 0. 0 results gives 0 anyway, but according to our question, that also is supposed to be 0. So let's not worry about that. Minus 1. Minus 1 itself. Minus 150. Minus 51. Minus 111. Minus 111 itself. Minus 4321. Minus 1234. It works perfectly. Minus 1005. It gives me an error because minus 5001 is outside the loop. So test case for not returning 0. We tried that, right? We just tried that because if it's minus 1000, it's returning minus 1. It's reversing properly. If it is minus 250, it is returning minus 52 and so on. So in that sense, our program is working logically. So no problems. So we are able to solve this well. Now, let us move ahead over here to the next case, to the next part, to the next scenario over here. Now, here's what we're going to do. Observe this, guys. Please note and observe this very, very carefully and very, very clearly. If I want to convert this to Java, in Java, you have similar thing called math.max, which you can use. Simple logic. The same thing we can continue in Java, but all we need to do is change it to math.max. So let's just quickly do this because it's really not going to be a difficult code for us. It's going to be a very simple and easy thing for us to do. So let's take this. So I'll just show you guys one example here. If I take something like int a, or let's say system dot out dot, let's say println of math dot max. Let's see what happens here. Sorry guys, max. Let's try this. When I compile this and let's quickly run this, so it says unable to find math dot max. Let's see where I just went wrong. Okay, I think it's supposed to be function. So let's try. I think I went wrong somewhere over here. Let's give this a try. Let's see where we went wrong. Of course, perfect. So we're supposed to specify what exactly are we supposed to send as a value, because we need to send max will give us maximum of 2 values. So very sorry guys, max will give us maximum of 2 values. So if you want to get int max in Java, we need to use the wrapper class. So very sorry for this, because math max is a max function which is of math, because since I was in this int max, I just immediately went to that. So this, we have a wrapper class called integer. If you guys know, in integer we have a variable called max value and min value. Max value will give you the maximum value that can be stored in integer. If you're sorry guys, not a dot out, that is Java code. If we run this, we get the maximum value stored here. Similarly, I can also use Java C space code dot Java, and we can also try for int minimum and everything. We can do this. So that's our basic logic. So let's give this a try. Since we know this, since we already know this logic, we're just gonna take scanner equals new scanner of system.in, simple logic, and we're just gonna use scanner.next int whatever is the value we get, we will store it in something like int let's say num, since we are using num there anyway. So we're gonna call the function system.out.println reverse of num. That's it. Now whatever we have here, we just have to copy the code. That's it, nothing else. We'll just copy this. Now there's a common scenario where in interviews you will get programmed from here. Please note, In interviews, you will get programs from here only. You will only be able to fill this part. So that means you will only be able to fill all the part within this function. At the Karthik's question, we'll confirm that. We're just waiting for a couple of messages. We'll confirm soon. Not to worry. Keep checking our keep checking our entire um, live videos. Often will confirm it as soon as we can. Not to worry about that. All right. So let's go ahead very quickly here. So let's try to reverse a number. Now, the idea is we need to use static. Otherwise, we need an object. So let's use static over here. So do I need to change anything? One thing is here I need to use integer dot max value. Same thing I need to copy over here as well. So I don't need to change anything else apart from this. So I can run this. We can compile, sorry, not run. Let's compile this. And let's now run this. We should be able to, let's say, if I give 5,000, if I give 1,005 and everything, it works. But I need such a huge value, right? To have such a huge value, I'll forget integer for now. We'll just take max value and we'll take something like, let's say, static int max value equals 5,000. Let's give this a try. Let's compile this and let's run this. If I give 2000 or let's say 1005, it should give me 0. But if I give 1004, it should reverse. So works perfectly. So this is our entire logic when it comes down to executing the same thing in Java. But if you want to execute the same thing in Python, your program is going to be very, very different. I'll explain why. First, we need to read two integers. Let's read int input. We'll store, one integer. Let's store it as num. And then we're just going to call reverse of num. That's it. Now, does Python have any boundary for integers? I don't know. Let's say I'm new to programming. I really don't know. If such a question is asked in Python and I don't know this basics, I may not be able to solve it. Python int bounded or unbounded. Let's say I really don't know. So you'll get to see here that it just keeps growing. The value of it is unbound. It just keeps growing and growing. You can't have a boundary. But in this case, we need to have a boundary, right? The boundary, whatever we have created here. To create that boundary, we need to manually calculate 2 to the power of 31 and store it as max value. That is what we need to do. Otherwise, you can't solve this in Python because there's no boundary in Python when it comes down to this. As long as there is memory, it just keeps on storing. So let's go ahead and let's try solving this. Let's see what exactly happens in this case. I'm just going to copy this exact function that we have so that we can paste it here and give it a try. Now, we need to do some small changes. It is define this function. We'll just remove the brackets and we'll also remove the tab spaces by 1. I think this is good enough. So if the number is lesser than 0, we're doing the same thing. Return negative of reverse of negative num. And we create a variable called reverse num, which is 0. As long as num is not equal to 0, we need to repeat this. Now there are a couple of big problems that occur here. Here guys, when you perform this, when I perform division, will it give integer or float value? First, let me create this value called max value equals 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. Remember, the max value is one value lesser than that. So, if we are overflowing, that is, if we are going greater than, can I perform division? In division, will it give me float or int value in Python? What do you guys think? Think through, guys. Yes, as one of you, Sagar, pointed out, in Python, Your regular division symbol will always give you float value. You need to do double division, which gives you the floor division, which gives you the integer value of it. So same way we need to see where else we need to do similar. So first thing, if reverse number is greater than integer maximum, floor division of 10. This is one thing. Now, will this work in Python? Think back. We have gone through a few sessions where we have learned a lot about Python, where we have learned basics. Logical OR does not work like this in Python. We cannot use OR symbol in this case. For us to work logical OR, we need to use a slightly different case, that is OR in letters. Now, followed by this, we're going to check our next condition. We don't need to change anything else here. If you want to make it easier, you can put these in brackets. And again, I don't need integer dot. I just need max value. That's it. That's all we need to use. So the rest is simple. Just to make it easy for us, I'm going to put brackets for all the conditions outside of OR for our easier understanding. That's it. For no other purpose. If that is the case, we return 0. Otherwise, we perform the same operation. Now, there's still one problem over here in the last line. We need to again perform floor division. Now, let's return reverse num and give it a try. Now, what I'm going to do here is initially take this as 5000. Let's see if it works, because we need to test based on our input number, right? So, let's give this a try. So also, as Ashram Shah also pointed out, absolutely right. That's what happens float. So to ensure that we don't have this problem, as Sakshi also pointed out, we're going to use floor division. Absolutely right. So let's take this scenario. I'm just going to use code.py. Now, there's one little problem. There's supposed to be no int because it's Python. We made a lot of different changes, but we didn't make this one silly mistake. We made that one silly mistake. So let's say where else we went wrong here. There's no colon here because it's Python. We need to add that. So let's update it and try to interpret it now. Let's say I give 1005. It's not giving me any number because we're not printing anything yet. So let's print the result. The reverse of num. So a few little mistakes, that's all right. As long as there's no other mistakes, this is fine. 1005 gives us 0, whereas 1004 gives us the right value. So this works perfectly. So all I need to do is just put this as 2 power 31 minus 1. That's it. If you do this, your entire logic is done. Anyway, you don't need to do this because by default, power has higher priority. So that's the basic idea. So this is all that we need to. I have one of you stating that semicolon. See, this is not a problem. Python semicolon is optional. Whether you write it or not, it really doesn't make a difference. You can write it, but there's no point in writing it. You can leave it as it is and go to next line. So this is your entire code to solve the same problem in Python. So I hope this has been easy. Even though the question sounds very, very simple, when you see the first line, that is reverse number, and when you see the next part, it sounds very, very complicated. I hope it's been easy for you guys to understand this. I hope it's been very, very easy for us to work through this and solve this very quickly. So with this, I'll just share this with you guys. That is reverse number with constraints, so that you guys can access this link. I'll just share the link with you guys in just a minute. So by the time you guys can let me know if this was a difficult program, if this was confusing, whether you guys are able to get this easily, whatever it may be, because tomorrow we're going to go through a very different problem. I have one question. Take problem on how to add integer in string. Like you want to take two strings as integers and add them. Is that the question? Like two strings are provided as integer input and you want to perform addition towards them. I hope that's exactly what is being asked. Like for example, you have here, let's say, one integer. I'll just give you a scenario. So, okay, two strings like 1, 2, 3, and you have to add with something like 4, 5, 6. We'll do this. I'll take this up in the next session, not to worry. We have Roman numeral to integer conversion. Along with this, I'll also take this problem. That is how to add two integers using strings in C++, Java, and Python as well. So we have shared the link for today's program as well, and we'll take up the particular problem that has been asked. We'll also do that. With this, we'll end our session here tonight. We hope you guys had a fun time going through this, fun time learning this. There are a lot of other programs that are there in our YouTube channel. Please do give it a check. A lot of concepts are there. Aptitude, verbal, technical, everything. Do give it a check, and hopefully you guys find them useful for your interviews. We'll catch up in our next live session. Until then, have a good time and take care, guys.